Now, there comes a moment, quiet but pivotal, when you stop explaining yourself. You stop shrinking for people who misunderstand your boundaries. You stop apologizing for taking up space, having needs, or saying no. That moment, that's the turning point. Because when you honor your truth without needing approval, something shifts. You become unshakable, not invulnerable, but no longer negotiable. Toxic people feed off of access to your emotions, to your doubts, to your silence. They thrive in the gray areas where your boundaries are still suggestions, not standards. Toxic people don't thrive in truth. They thrive in confusion, in half-said boundaries, in the places where your maybe sounds too much like a yes. They rely on your hesitation, on your need to be liked, on the part of you that's still afraid of being misunderstood. But the moment you become clear, you become free. Clarity isn't about shouting or defending yourself endlessly. It's about anchoring in who you are and what you stand for. It's saying, this is okay, that is not. Without explaining your trauma, without over-explaining your boundaries, without editing your needs so others feel comfortable. Because when you say what you mean and mean what you say, there's no room left for manipulation. There's no crack in the door for guilt to slip through. There's no emotional fog for toxic people to hide in. And clarity isn't just external, it's internal. You stop arguing with yourself. You stop second-guessing your instincts. You stop wondering if you're the problem every time someone mistreats you. Clarity is a mirror. It reflects people's intentions back to them. Some will respect your boundary and grow with you. Others will resist it, resent it, or retreat. That's okay, because your job is not to manage how people feel about your clarity. Your job is to own it. Let the people who only knew the version of you without boundaries be confused. Let them be uncomfortable. Let them fall away if they must, because where chaos once lived, clarity builds peace. You are allowed to say no without guilt, without justification, without writing an emotional essay to make someone else comfortable with your decision. Let that settle. Because for too long, we've been conditioned to believe that in order to earn our boundaries, we must soften them, that our no is too harsh unless it comes wrapped in an apology, an excuse, or a backstory that proves we're still kind. But here's the truth. No is a complete sentence. It doesn't mean you're cold. It doesn't mean you're cruel. As experience, it means you're clear. Toxic people hate clear boundaries. They don't just want access to your time, they want access to your guilt. They feed on your emotional labor. They twist your explanations into opportunities. The longer you explain, the more they manipulate. Every time you over-explain, you hand over your power, piece by piece. And that power is not theirs to have. You don't owe anyone a permission slip to protect your peace. You don't have to make someone feel better about your decision to take care of yourself. You don't need to turn your boundary into a negotiation table where someone else decides if it's valid. The need to explain is often rooted in fear of disappointing, of being seen as difficult, of being misunderstood. But here's the thing, some people will misunderstand you, especially those who benefited from your lack of boundaries. Let them, because the cost of pleasing everyone is betraying yourself. And every time you say yes when your soul whispers no, You abandon a little piece of your truth. A healthy person doesn't need a story to respect your no. They hear it, honor it, and don't make it personal. It's only toxic people who demand your no come with proof, penance, or apology. That's not respect. That's control. So practice the radical act of saying no without the script. No anger, no drama, no guilt. It's just your truth. No, thank you. That doesn't work for me. I'm not available for that. I choose not to. In a world that often confuses loudness with strength and reaction with relevance, choosing calm is one of the most underestimated forms of power, especially when you're dealing with toxic people. Toxic individuals feed off chaos. They crave emotional reactions, tears, anger, defensiveness, because every emotional outburst from you becomes fuel for them. It confirms their control. It keeps you entangled in a cycle where you're constantly explaining and they're constantly provoking. So when you stop giving them that reaction, when you choose calm instead of chaos, you shatter the entire game they're trying to play. Calm doesn't mean passive. It doesn't mean weak. It means grounded. It's looking someone in the eye while they try to push every one of your buttons and saying, this doesn't move me anymore. It's walking away instead of engaging in another circular argument that was never meant to be resolved. Just repeated, it's silence, not because you don't have a response, but because your peace is worth more than winning a battle you never agreed to fight. Calm is restraint in the face of provocation. It's emotional discipline. It's knowing that your nervous system deserves protection more than your ego deserves to be right. Toxic people want to create instability in you. They want to see you lose control because then they feel powerful. But when you're calm, they lose access to you. They can't guilt you. They can't gaslight you. They can't manipulate your tone and turn it against you. Because calm is neutral, it's clean, it doesn't leave fingerprints. And here's what people don't tell you. The most powerful person in the room is not the loudest. It's the one who refuses to be shaken by noise. Calm keeps you in your integrity. It gives you space to respond, not react. It allows you to see clearly who's operating from love and who's operating from control. So the next time someone tries to trigger you into proving yourself, defending yourself, or doubting yourself, pause, breathe, respond only if it's aligned, not because you're afraid of how they'll interpret your silence. That calm you cultivate, that's your power. That's your healing. That's the version of you toxic people can't touch. Sometimes the only way to truly see someone clearly is to step away. As long as you're emotionally entangled, constantly explaining, fixing, hoping, they can distort your vision. They blur your sense of what's real by flooding you with mixed signals, guilt trips, and just enough affection to keep you doubting your own intuition. But when you create distance, emotional, physical, energetic, the mask slips. You've stopped hearing the noise, or you stop responding to the bait. And in that silence, the truth begins to echo. You notice things you couldn't see when you were close. How one-sided the relationship really was. How drained you felt after every conversation. How often you were silenced, minimized, or made to feel like you were the problem. Distance does what emotional closeness sometimes can't. It gives you perspective. It's not just about cutting someone off. It's about reclaiming your clarity. Because when you're constantly in the middle of the storm, it's easy to think the chaos is normal. It's only when you step outside the storm that you realize you were never supposed to live in it. Toxic people will often panic when you take space, not because they care deeply, but because they're losing their ability to influence you. Your absence threatens their illusion of control. They may try to pull you back in with guilt. You've changed. You're abandoning me. I thought we were closer than this. But here's the truth. Distance doesn't break real connection. It only breaks control. The people meant for you won't be threatened by your boundaries. They'll respect them. And the ones who only stayed because you were accessible, agreeable, or easily manipulated, they'll fall away. Let them. Distance isn't cruelty. It's clarity. It shows you who checks in and who disappears, who reaches out to reconnect, and who only circles back when they want something. Most of all, distance reveals you to yourself. It gives you space to hear your own thoughts again, to ask, what do I actually want? What am I tolerating that no longer serves me? Who am I when I'm not constantly managing someone else's emotions? So if you're unsure about a relationship, if you keep getting confused, doubting yourself, or second guessing the dynamic, don't fight harder, don't explain more, don't shrink again. Just step back. Let distance do what words can't. Let truth rise in the space where manipulation once lived. Because real love doesn't punish your boundaries. It thrives in your clarity. Freedom sounds beautiful until you realize what it costs. It costs the comfort of old patterns, even the ones that were hurting you. It cost approval from people who only loved the version of you that kept abandoning yourself. It costs familiarity, the known pain that felt safer than the unknown peace. But here's the truth you can't bypass. Growth isn't painless. Healing isn't graceful. Becoming free, it's messy, disruptive, and deeply uncomfortable. Because when you finally decide to stop people-pleasing, to stop over-explaining, to stop tolerating disrespect, there will be backlash. Not because you're wrong, but because you're no longer easy to control. Discomfort shows up the moment you choose yourself. It whispers lies like, you're selfish, you're too much, maybe you overreacted. And sometimes it's not even others making you question yourself. It's the echo of your own unhealed wounds. The part of you that still believes love must be earned through sacrifice. The version of you that's still scared to be fully seen and fully rejected. But discomfort is not a sign that you're doing it wrong. It's the resistance that comes with rewriting old survival scripts. You see, freedom doesn't always come with a smile. Sometimes it comes with shaking hands and a racing heart as you finally say, no more. No more explaining your worth. So more proving your pain. No more being the emotional sponge for people who never once asked how you were doing. And yes, when you break those cycles, it hurts. You'll feel guilt. You'll feel grief. You might even feel lonely. But that pain, it's productive. It's the ache of a soul stretching beyond what it was taught to accept. It's the tension of transformation. And here's what's beautiful about it. Discomfort is temporary. But freedom, that's lasting. Once you move through the discomfort, you begin to feel the lightness, the clarity, the inner quiet that only comes when you're no longer living to make others comfortable. And suddenly, peace feels safer than approval. Silence feels more sacred than explaining. Boundaries feel more natural than people-pleasing. So don't fear the discomfort. Honor it. It means you're not asleep anymore. It means you're alive, awake, and finally willing to walk away from what was breaking you. Because discomfort is not your enemy, it's your initiation. It's the cost of reclaiming your wholeness. It's the doorway to the life you were always worthy of, but only now brave enough to step into. There is a version of you that toxic people could access easily. The one who over-explained, the one who said yes when everything inside you screamed no, the one who tolerated chaos just to feel needed or to avoid abandonment. But that version of you, you've outgrown them. A growth isn't just about rising higher. It's about becoming unavailable to the dynamics that once defined you. It's about healing so deeply that manipulation no longer finds a place to land. It's about becoming so rooted in your worth that guilt, shame, and fear can no longer twist your boundaries. You don't even have to cut people off with drama anymore. They just can't reach you. Not because you're cruel, but because you've evolved. Toxic people operate on frequency. They're drawn to access, to instability, to emotional reactivity. They test your limits. They poke your wounds. They look for the version of you that would bend just to keep the peace. But growth is what happens when you stop playing the role they wrote for you. You stop explaining your no. You stop chasing closure. You stop leaking your energy trying to convince someone to treat you right. You start choosing silence over arguments, distance over dysfunction, peace over proving. And they don't know what to do with that. Because when you're no longer the person who responds out of fear, who reacts out of habit, or who explains out of guilt, you become unreadable to manipulation. That's the power of growth. It changes your entire energetic language. You no longer vibrate on the same level as the drama. You no longer entertain what you've healed from. They'll say, you've changed. And you have, not to hurt them, but to save yourself. You upgraded your standards. You've chosen self-respect over self-sacrifice. You've realized that peace isn't found in controlling others. It's found in regulating yourself. Growth doesn't mean you're better than anyone. It means you're no longer available for the pain you once normalized. You don't hate them. You're just not reachable by them anymore. And when they try to bait you with old triggers, they'll find nothing but calm. When they try to guilt you, they'll find silence. When they try to pull you back, they'll reach and realize you're no longer standing where they left you. Because growth is not just healing, it's elevation. And from that new height, what once reached you now can't even find you. Toxic people lose their power the moment you stop handing them permission to confuse you, drain you, or define you. And here's what's most important. You don't need to fight them to be free from them. You don't need the last word. You don't need their apology. You just need to remember who you are when you're not living in reaction to their behavior. Because the moment you choose clarity over chaos, the moment you say no without explanation, the moment you protect your peace instead of proving your point, that's when everything shifts. Not outside you, but within you. You stop being bait. You stop being access. You stop being a version of yourself that needed to be small just to be accepted. You don't heal by changing them. You heal by becoming someone they can no longer reach. And yes, it takes courage. It takes grieving who you were and letting go of who they wanted you to be. But on the other side of that discomfort, there's peace, there's power, there's freedom, the kind that isn't loud but lasting, and the kind that doesn't prove itself but protects itself. Do this once, just once, and toxic people will never bother you again. Not because they stopped, but because you did.